What's up guys, E-Rob here from Discount Trading Cards. We're going to do a deck profile today of Magic the Gathering. Be sure to check the description box for a link to our eBay page and for a link to the card list of this deck. So let's get into it. This is Pressure Cooker, and the basic land cards of this are 9 mountains, and 12 swamps. Also, to help you out with the hand, is a Ravaged Highlands. This just has an additional ability. You can sacrifice it to add 1 mana of any color. This is the same thing with Bog Wreckage. Cabal Pit is really useful if you have Threshold. This is a deck that is based off Threshold. When you have Threshold, you can sacrifice this to give a target creature -2/2, which can knock out or weaken some of the creatures. Next we have 2 artifacts, 2 Shadowblood Eggs. These just can beef up your mana pool, can allow you to make a play maybe that you couldn't. Next we have our black creatures, and this is Childhood Horror. He's got flying, and his threshold ability is +2/+2 and can't block, which he's a flying creature, so they usually don't use them for blocking, so that's not really that much of a hindrance. Next up we have Famished Ghoul. There are 2 of these in the deck. You can pay 2 to sacrifice it and remove up to 2 target cards in a single graveyard from the game. This can help if you're playing against an opponent with flashback costs, so you can use his ability to just remove your opponent's power to do the flashbacks. Next we have Frightcrawler, which also is based on Threshold. It gets +2/+2 and can't block. We have Crypt, which his ability is you can remove a target card in the graveyard from the game, just going back to flashback costs, and there's other uses for that. We have Repentant Vampire. This is a really powerful card. It has flying, and whatever creature dealt damage by Repentant Vampire is sent to the grave. You put a +1/+1 counter on it, and it also has a threshold ability that it is white, and you can tap it to destroy target black creature. Face of Fear has a discard ability which will help you get up that threshold count, and it becomes unblockable except for by artifact or black creatures. Cabal Braids Minion. This is a little bit tricky of a card. This will help you to get your threshold count, because at the beginning of the upkeep you have to sacrifice an artifact, creature, or land. So if you have a lot, this can help you, and it also really hindrances your opponent. Alright, we have red creatures. We have 3 Pardic Firecats. These have haste, and another thing that they're really good for is that they count to Flame Burst, which we'll get into later. That's a red spell that is based on this deck. Then we have Chainflingers. Chainflingers are really good because of their ability, they can deal 1 damage to target creature or player. So you can use this to weed out the smaller creatures that he has, or just to deal some damage. And with that threshold, it gives up to 2 damage. So Barbarian and Lunatic. These have 2/1, but their ability is pretty good. It can just deal 2 damage if you sacrifice it. So that'll get your graveyard up and can deal some damage to the other opponent. We have Dwarven Strike Force. If you discard a card at random, it gains first strike and haste. So that's really good. It's a 4/3 that can deal some damage. And lastly, for red creatures, we have Halbardier, which has first strike. Now let's get into black spells and enchantments. This is a sorcery. It's Morbid Hunger, deals 3 damage to target creature or player, and you gain 3 life. Very helpful. Can help you to regain some life if you have, and it also has a fairly high flashback cost, but that's useful. Ghastly Demise. Destroy target non-black creature if its toughness is less than or equal to the number of cards in your graveyard. This is going to help you if you have a big graveyard. Innocent Blood. Each player sacrifices a creature. This is a great card to play early on in the game if you don't have many creatures out, or if he only has 1 really powerful creature. Morgue Theft. Pretty self-explanatory. It can help you bring back a creature from the grave. Flame Burst. Going back to this Pardic Firecats. If this does 2 damage where X is... does 2 damage plus the number of Flame Burst and Pardic Firecats in your graveyard. So with all the ones you have a chance of dealing up to 7 damage with the compounding effects of Flame Burst if they're all in your graveyard. Then we have Firebolt, which is just a good old 2 damage to your opponent. Engulfing Flame does 1 damage, and both of these have flashback costs, which are really good. You have Reckless Charge, which just helps you get some extra damage, gives your creature haste, +3/+0, and it has a flashback cost. Liquid Fire does 5 damages, but you can choose to distribute it in between any number of creatures and players. And lastly, we have Thermal Blast, which deals 3 damage, but you have your threshold, it does 5. Thanks a lot for checking out this video, guys. Let me know how you think anything about this deck, and like I said, this deck is for sale on eBay.